Shedeur Sanders had one of the most unbelievable draft slides in the NFL draft history in 2025, as many people expected him to go in the first round, and many people actually believed he was going to go top 10. Some even had him as the number one quarterback on their draft board, which in most cases meant he was going top 5. However, there were still a lot of downfalls and flaws in Shedeur's game. Maurice Jones-Drew, an NFL All-Pro running back and current NFL Network analyst, said he's a really good quarterback, but doesn't have traits that jump off the chart. It doesn't mean he's not good, but he's not the fastest and doesn't have the strongest arm. Those are two of the main weaknesses and concerns when Sanders was evaluated for the NFL, as he completed just 47% of his passes beyond 20 yards and 68% of his passes between 10 and 19 yards at Colorado last season. He also completed 54% of his passes when under pressure last year, and Sanders was sacked 94 times in 2 seasons at Colorado, the most in FBS during that span. Additionally, there were several reports leading up to the draft that criticized Sanders' draft interview process.
Yeah, I think the perception was that, that he had some character concerns. I think the name, kind of just his arrogance, his perceived arrogance, and then there was, some talk that he had some interviews with some teams, and those interviews didn't go well because of the arrogance and just his personality.
Yeah, there was a lot of, in college, he had a lot of ego and arrogance. Even when they were losing, he wasn't necessarily the best loser. And that's important to a lot of NFL teams, is to be a great winner and loser. And he kind of showed off a good bit. Obviously, he has the Sanders last name, so he's got a good amount of money already. But wearing the Rolexes every win and, flashing it to the crowd, despite having an overall losing record at Colorado last season, wasn't the best look for him. And it kind of showed leading into the draft, as he had a lot of problems in draft rooms with arrogance and his ego and talking out of turn and acting better than the people who was interviewing him. And that kind of came back to bite him in the rear end when draft day came around.
Yeah, and I think bypassing the combine, as far as, throwing and et cetera, I think that hurt him some too, because there were still teams that were interested. They just didn't get an opportunity to see him, outside of the game, the college game setting. So I think that hurt him some too. But there's always been that concern for his arm strength and his accuracy, right?
Most definitely. So him not going to the combine, all it did was just add to it and make the multitude of problems even worse.
Yep.
So that's why Shedeur Sanders had that draft slide, and one of the most unbelievable draft slides of all time, all the way from a predicted first-round draft pick, possible top 10, to a fifth-round, fourth-string quarterback for the Cleveland Browns. Thank you.